Well, if for some reason you don't know what's going on, I'm going to give you the brief and then we are going to go into the response. Enra, ena, eye, ekubia, wamo se, wamo ye, England for lawyers, eku, England and the Commonwealth. What you say? Na, mama what you say, Commonwealth, they can say Commonwealth country, not just say countries are, eye, England for a dear sono. Yeni na ye Commonwealth for. Na enra na yete se yesi ekuo bi a omo ye lawyers a womu free sa amanaman we mu no omo aba betro nkrata a womo ema His Excellency John Dramani Mahama order se Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo a ya suspending no Mahama enye no nsanso emfa ne mbra biom na dia Mahama eye no etiambra. Even though it has gone to Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has ruled say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama de oye ni nano. It is according to law on tiambra biano enkrofo we person mo treso mo de omunim esen Ghana yenye Supreme Court. And for people who don't know, Ghana Supreme Court ena etre emrase. The sole role of the Supreme Court is to interpret the Constitution. Supreme Court na etre emrase. It is a Supreme Court na etre emrase. Now what they also ye England for lawyers so person etre and say unim sen yenye Supreme Court. It is not just an insult. It is not just only an insult. What you say? But you see, it's more like it gives that classism, elitism energy, condescending, intimidation energy. Because the opposite address, who the nipa SUB, who the unim sin yenye Supreme Court, unim sin yenye judges, right? Basically, but the Attorney General, the Office of the Attorney General, Oman Chahu, in some by 1 hour, and check. The Office of the Attorney General had a response ababa betuja. Na the Attorney General is kulisa nkrofo ye. Yen read the response Attorney General no ede ebae na yen hwe Attorney General nsemo a wono so aka. Say press release. The Honorable Attorney General's response to the joint statement by the Bar Council of England and Wales and Commonwealth Lawyers Association on the suspension of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Also, this is the response by the Honorable Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana to the joint statement issued by the Bar Council of England and Wales and the Commonwealth Lawyers Association on August 14, 2025 regarding the suspension of Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude AES Torkornoo, CJ, from the office of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. 1. The government of Ghana acknowledges the joint statement's expressed concern for judicial independence and commitment to constitutional governance within the Commonwealth. It is, however, a matter of serious concern that the BCEW and the CLA issued the joint statement without first acquainting themselves, even in a very basic way, with the relevant constitutional provisions and the material facts of the matter. Now, Obi Biara Otie, the analysis I did, no. Me reading Crawford and Crat and Asemo Metremon and Crawford and Cran as a Ghana Mrano Munim, Munyamokai. Emma, my yes, second video, no cram metres and Crawford no moon kuti Ghana Mrani ye. That is a more Kasake, Ghana Mrana no Munim. I did the analysis, I said that because that was the first thing. Me read your moon semno. That was the first thing I could arrive at. And it's not surprising, say, in the response of the Attorney General, no. The number 1 point, and one son Attorney General no worker. Attorney General ne semo kan say, na mo semo amoka kra no, say Ghana mra kra mu ni. Attorney General no person tre say in semo amoka na Ghana mra kra mu nim, na nka say musua Ghana mra no, mo kinkan Ghana mra no, na mo tim mra na si yansa na mo kasa. Because clearly, any person who reads that statement will know say angrofo we semo amoka no mu nim Ghana mra. And so, I'm happy that the Attorney General is also siding with in some way the first point I me make and then one Attorney General they make. Now the second point will say the suspension of Her Ladyship. Before I go to the same, I'm getting too excited over this response. I'll bring you I'm getting to a response. I'm let me cool down and read it well. But answer no, Mr. Obi a wutie me bia no, wa wutie me no, you know yourself. Unimu ho. Se we fu asha se eye kese. And wa asha se we put you on weight. You see, senior nipa your body etino. So would after 30 years. Now she has say we put you on weight and now what she has say we full yekesia enya depa. You are risking your health. One here your stroke a bit to me actual. One here your diabetes, cholesterol no send ye high no. One here your cancer and now come my until be a would me be an unimu. Oko hospital na doctor and now friend doctor will phone so na say doctor ni mumpo. No person check say that be one here diabetes be to me actual. Asemo obeka tell say hwe wefu. Se wo hwe wefu na unhu sisi a. Se wefu akata o sisi so a. Doctor ne betrel say one here diabetes becho. Na me can say anya say me bo unhu. Me can say atrel say me I have gone through it. Na ma throw hu book. Na book no e comment box ni mu. Ne bo onye den. E pure water money. In the comment box, or click it, link no comment box no more. You see the various versions of the book. There, who feel say open no I click it now at all. Even on the screen, crown no book no ewo. Na book no a meme life. You see my before picture, you see my after picture. The nam so en yama bi ame ye 3 things ame ye 3 months. Ema me lose see weight, ema me fu etwen ye, ema ende me fu aba be flat. You see all the pictures in the book. Mr. Indi ho agro. Your health should be your first priority. Anyway, that being said, young concept ni mo. Obi a wo pese ebi a auto book na o click it because book no you can purchase with mobile money. Ebi na untumi for mobile money in purchase it. Now still you want to get the book, you can call me on 055 807 4986. 055 807 4986. So what to book no? Na still one san can wait ya can still one san can book now. Don't worry. Usi kan yiraye. Call me on that number or text me, send me a WhatsApp message on that number and I'll get the book for you. It is not only you who will nebi, who will dofubi, who will busi nibia, who have book nebe buano. Because a lot of people are even buying the books for a year other people, not even themselves. Also, obe to me aye. Now, young concept nimu. The second point I say, the suspension of her ladyship, Justice Torkornoo, CJ, strictly adheres to the provisions of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, particularly Article 146, which prescribes the procedure and grounds for the removal of the Chief Justice and the removal of other justices of the Superior Courts from office. This process is clear, comprehensive, and has been faithfully followed, as set out in the steps described below. Into the second point, we're trying to say, Sabe, yan sorry sa keke, and a Chief Justice in yesi ye know. Ye bia na yembra na yedi mra so na wo read Ghana article 146 na wo be hu ne say ye bia na yembra mra na yedi so no eni the procedure under article 146 was triggered by 3 separate petitions filed by citizens of Ghana alleging stated misbehavior and incompetence on the part of her ladyship Justice Torkornoo CJ. Inti ngrofo miensa ekuo miensa ene share petition na say se maame no wa ye nyama bia ensem fata se o se Chief Justice o ye emra no so tre se Chief Justice ya bia ensem fata se o so ya e was nkrofo petition. B. Following the receipt of the petitions, the President acting under Article 1466 and in accordance with the decided cases of the Supreme Court of Ghana referred the petitions to the Council of State for their advice on whether any of the petitions discloses a prima facie against her ladyship. Justice Torkornoo, CJ. The Council of State is a body of eminent persons chaired by a former Speaker of Ghana's Parliament. Membership of the Council of State includes a retired Chief Justice, a retired Inspector General of Police, a retired Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, a former Attorney General, retired Justices of the Supreme Court, eminent traditional leaders, and elected representatives of each of Ghana's administrative regions. And I like what the Attorney General is doing here. The Attorney General is sort of letting England lawyers know. Say, say munim Ghana mrana ye tremo Ghana mra ne tre say president eti enya petition na. Any kwan say president no eye say ono ankasa ekwa yi Chief Justice no. I was say president no. O sha ase ekokohu the Council of State. Na Council of State ne be decided. Into we no say Council of State no say be enya kwahwe kwafo bia. A former Chief Justice eka ho. Former leader of Parliament and Speaker of Parliament eka ho. former IGP eka ho, former retired justices of the Supreme Court eka ho, traditional leaders eka ho. Into obobot sankrofo atrom say decision we no say Chief Justice no ene aba mo nchen aba beka kire mo say ade we ene emfa mra kwan so a yen ye kire mo say ade a esi ye no enye nkola bi na ekokote na baby decide say maame ne ye yi no eye mpanyifo na atena se ehu ne sensem a ye de ato maame ne so no eye nsem a eye serious. OCC copies of the petitions were sent to the Chief Justice for her preliminary response, and upon receipt, the President forwarded copies to the Council of State. After considering the responses, the Council of State found that each of the 3 petitions establishes a prima facie case against Her Ladyship, Justice Torkornoo CJ. So, tremu because we have grown krata no mo de buy na. Assemble akomo samso kan say as a president no, my Chief Justice na training semu. Inti Attorney General ne krata na etre se dabi President no eden nsem ne ma Chief Justice. O ma Chief Justice ne training nsemu. Or then the response by no. Ya the response no so sanso combine Council of State. I say D. Once a prima facie case was established, the President, in consultation with the Council of State, constituted a committee to inquire into the matter as mandated by Article 146. The committee comprises 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom serves as the chairperson, and 3 other members who are not lawyers, members of Parliament, or members of the Council of State. Into what tremu President ni no. Council of State for me umunya prima facie ewie no. And a president no. Eba for me panel say ye investigate. Na panel no mu investigate no. Enye obi akeke Chief Justice nankasa colleagues enetia no. So you see the explanation. Into unim kra unim. E. I say after establishing the inquiry committee, the President, acting in accordance with further advice from the Council of State as provided for under Article 146(10)(a) of the Constitution, suspended Her Ladyship Justice Torkornoo CJ from the office of the Chief Justice pending the outcome of the inquiry. And I've read this on this platform in the video I just posted. Me read it ewom. Omo tre say, owie no President no Article 146(10)(a) what tre say President in suspended Chief Justice no. And no na President ne ye. And this was when Engrofone Krata no more tre say Ghana mrane tre say the only time I obey Chief Justice and say oh ya ready into ye Chief Justice no. Into more trend said that be Article 10(a) ne tre say President can go forward to suspend the Chief Justice after all the processes no were respected. And the President indeed has done so. I say the government notes the joint statement's reliance on the Commonwealth Latima House principles. Ghana's constitutional framework is not only consistent with these principles, but also provides robust safeguards for judicial independence and procedural fairness. The process under Article 146 of the Constitution ensures that the President does not act unilaterally, but only upon advice and findings of constitutionally mandated actors and independent investigative bodies. The President does not participate in the inquiry, and by Article 146(9) is bound by findings of the inquiry committee. Nkrofone nsem omo ka no mo ka se omo mmra e no ka se o mmra ne de yate Ghana ha se yenso ye wombra yenso ye yusu na wo Article 146 ne kra na sa Article 146 no o read kra na President no need to me. And I've discussed this. Samuni amobeka ya case we share earlier this year no. I discussed the Article 146 in its entirety. Emma me mamoti asiye say, o share the wording of Article 146 ne kra na President require need to me. Because now say Constitution is share President say we see a we see a way it will hear His Excellency John Dramani Mahama kra na only to me. And indeed that is what the Attorney General is saying here. The President is binded by the Constitution to carry out in somewhere investigative bodies no edebeba only to me our beka so investigative body no say ninti menye dabi. I say 4. Regarding concerns about representation and participation in the proceedings, the Attorney General is confident that the inquiry committee established under Article 1466 and chaired by the Chief Justice's peer, a Supreme Court Justice, is acting within the bounds of the law. We also believe that the Chief Justice, like any other Superior Court Justice subject to such proceedings, receives all the protections available under Ghanaian law, including the right to legal representation of choice and the right to fully respond to the allegations. Nkrofo issue a won so raise here, and the Chief Justice ni complain say okọ committee ne so okọ inquiry board ne so na investigative board ne so a said ye ne yakayaka de bi eno mo ka say ono ane nkrofo a oni omu ye adwuma na ete committee na no nsemu a mo ka so ye ne ya wo ti be bi ka say ye obi yakayaka de wehu weni aboso ono ane nkrofo na ete so na eyemra ne nkrofo ne nso no. You see, Chief Justice no dey asem na kwa kodan Supreme Court. Judges ne nsem mo kan say. And sa asem we go. Asem we me say obi bia wo nim Ghana mra bia no wa we follow me channel we mra asem we sha ase no me sure say we hu Ghana mra ni mu kra. Because na asem we so ma ba be read other mra kra tre say Committee of Inquiry tenasia. They have the right to set their own rules. Muni amoka isa asem no. To address committee ni rules a omo asete no. Eyemra. Enya se committee ne pe. Intia na me say Chief Justice no dey akokoda in Supreme Court. Di intia. Why is it that omo throw letter no? They are not speaking about the Supreme Court ruling. The third point, or say as to suggestions of delay or procedural impropriety, it is important to emphasize that the committee is wholly independent of the executive arm of government and conducts its work in accordance with its own procedural rules, consistent with the constitutional principle of legality, fairness, and reasonableness. By the provisions of Article 146, all proceedings related to the removal of Superior Court justices are held in camera, and the President, like all other citizens, is not privy to them. However, it is unrealistic and unbelievable that an inquiry committee with two of the suspended Chief Justice's peers, one serving as chairperson, would deprive her of the safeguards of due process, particularly when it is public knowledge that legal counsel comprising distinguished legal academics and practitioners has continuously and ably represented her throughout the hearings, bearing in mind that the proceedings commenced only on May 15, 2025. Any suggestion of undue delay is, to put it mildly, grossly misplaced. Nti nsemu a woka, mame ne nsemu a woka, ene ye entreat ni ye, ene ya sheda ne yebo delay tactics, ene ye say, o say adi kra May 15th ya, ene adi ne sha ase. Mame no ne colleagues mienu ene te board ne so. Nti no Attorney General ni bisa England for judges nti mususu say maame no Supreme Court judges nnamfofo ana omo oni omu ye adwuma mienu ene te board ne so no omo behwe na maame no yaye ne yakayaka de ana mumu adwumu no mo hwe a ye behwe na maame no yaye ne yakayaka de odi se ye numpo na mo beka obi anim se maame lawyers bebre are representing no obi a otie okọ obi a wonim sitting no de ekoso bia no enim se maami lawyers bebre akọ representing wo ho ya mo kwan mo akọ benti oba abontin na oba be kasa te se de ye ma ne kwan na mo nso mo asom se ye ma ne kwan na ye ma ne kwan ya ma nya mo se ye nkola nyama bi ne ye wa ha na nkola agro bi ne ye dio omo te board ne so omo nya nkola mbetena ase ahwe se maami yebedi na abro sa. The sixth point, it must therefore be emphasized that there has been no constitutional breach or executive overreach in the consideration of the three petitions. Applications for interlocutory injunctions and judicial review brought before both the Supreme Court and the High Court by the suspended Chief Justice and her associates in an effort to restrain or halt the inquiry committee proceedings have been duly considered and dismissed by the court as lacking in merit. We feel considerably reluctant to mention that the sound, including the very words of the BCEW and CLA joint statement, vividly clones the dismissed grounds which her ladyship, Justice Torkornoo CJ, and her associate canvassed before the Supreme Court and the High Court. It's also important to mention that Justice Torkornoo CJ has presented similar arguments in her case before the ECOWAS Court, which the government of Ghana is defending on behalf of its citizens. And you see exactly what I said. And I'm reading Crawford and Crat, and as someone can say, my men someone will raise and one as England for lawyers since we raise. And that's exactly what the Attorney General is saying here. Or saying someone will raise, my men they are called High Court or they are called Supreme Court. Judges need in a rule say, now semen yet there, in someone will raise in a nimu. Monsumu of pijamu hua, my men someone a Monsumu baberizi, and the same in same na mami so they are quack to ECOWAS. Edi na mo yesa no mo yama mo to kra daddy ase de maame no ba betron grata na maamo enye sa no kan ba me dia me de kan ho no. The 7th point, also the government of Ghana remains strongly committed to maintaining the independence of the judiciary, separation of powers and the rule of law. Any suggestion otherwise is unfounded and risks distorting a constitutional process that is being conducted fairly, transparently and in accordance with the law. And indeed, it is true. Abaino and I say this is a legal process. It is and the more Carter Mahama say on reinstate the Chief Justice. Not just say Mahama wombo Ghana mrengu. More lawyers no. Why will you talk that way? Why will you tell the president to come and interfere in a judicial process that is currently going on? That's ongoing. What you say? Basically, that's what they are saying. They are telling the president to reinstate the Chief Justice, not just a judicial process. President Nimbungu, is that not overreaching? Is that not the executive arm overreaching? Because you need to allow the judicial process to go on. The final point, I say, finally, neither the Latima House principles nor the Constitution prohibits the suspension of a Chief Justice once a prima facie determination of misconduct or misbehavior has been made. The suspension will, therefore, remain in effect until the inquiry committee completes its work and submits its report, to which His Excellency the President will adhere. Very simple. I say mo mbra na mo kanekra mbra na interest Chief Justice di boni aye ntumi yi no. Mo kra mo mbra ni mu no ewom se Chief Justice di boni o se etumi yi no nti afi adan. Owie no kan ma ni si so se Mahama wontie mo nde ntie mo china. Onfi mo nde nfi mo china. Mbra na be koso die besi pa monye de mo beye. And this is coming from Honorable Dr. Dominic Akurutinga Ayini, MP. I like it. I am really elated. I am excited. Ati ase meni aje. Sa eye writings here. Eye Dr. Dominic Ayini edi aban wa tretre nsemu ni so. Na u read we wie. Na also ye England lawyer na still say won ti ase de ende wa ehye obo. Mumbra na manase azorin nsemu otro social media. Or say let them come and reinstate her. Mumbra na mumma reinstate no. Semfo akwa. Ete bo wodra wa your boss ni mo da se. And the Ghana for bebre yare a ekuyen eye stroke, diabetes, cancer, heart disease. Na sa yare we ni na no. The underlying factor eye ade a wo broni friend visceral fat. Now her screen so a we eye doctor a website. Now what trust say visceral fat. Visceral fat wraps around your organs, creating inflammation and interfering with organ function. This fat causes a big belly. Now, one thing about visceral fat, and it's engrophobia Rebecca, oh, you better me be drew, I be my fuatrin, you better me drew, I be my fuatrin, visceral fat, no, oboa, obi obeka does we drew beer obenum, na we fuatrin, no, oboa. Because belly fat, no, a draw beer anywhere be to me, amanako form. You only lose belly fat when you decide to lose weight. Now, me meti he, me obia. Na first me will be belly fat no na me will be visceral fat no na me will be ende mini ohwa me fu atwe na enyama me ye no eye method bi a me friend no the WWE method me dey atro book no or comment box ni mo so open book ni bi ato a eno ane se wa click comment box ni mo na tre se wa to book no ana screen so book ni din eye your action plan for weight loss na wa click na wa pe book no ato ye kan eduro eye duane a yedi obi a wo be ka tro so ye peduro be ma ye fu atwe bia no me se oboa mesrew eduro ye duane e bedi nti metre we duane a obedi ni na wo book nim ene nyama e wo se wo ye nti no get the book and then live healthy